Okay, so if you really want to understand how Donald Trump won the presidency, you can't just start in 2016. It's not that simple. We've got to go way back. We're talking about the deals, the bankruptcies, the whole branding machine. See, this isn't really a story about the president. It's the story of how Donald became Trump.
You know, almost every explainer you'll see zooms in on those 4 years he was in the White House. But honestly, we're going to pretty much ignore all that. Why? Because the real story, the one that kind of explains everything that came later, it starts way, way before he even thought about getting into politics.
So that's the big question, right? How did this guy, a real estate developer, famous for skyscrapers and casinos, how did he manage to pull off what was essentially a hostile takeover of American politics? Well, to find the answer, we have to start with the one person who basically wrote his original playbook.
And that person was his father, Fred Trump. The lessons Donald learned from him, they were without a doubt the foundation for everything that came next.
So who was Fred Trump? Well, he was the master of New York's outer boroughs, a really tough, no-nonsense developer. I mean, this guy built an entire empire during the Great Depression, mostly by grabbing properties that were about to be foreclosed on. He was absolutely ruthless, incredibly successful, and he was dead set on passing those exact traits on to his sons.
And this right here, this was Fred's core philosophy. It was literally drilled into his sons from the time they were kids. And it wasn't just about business, not at all. It was a whole worldview. In his mind, the world was split into two kinds of people, killers and losers. And the one rule was, don't be a loser. You do whatever it takes to win. And that's a lesson Donald really took to heart.
So, armed with that killer instinct, Donald Trump sets his sights on a prize that's way bigger than his father's empire in the outer boroughs. He wanted to conquer Manhattan.
And what's his very first move? It's all about branding. The family business was called E. Trump & Son, which, let's be honest, sounds a little old-fashioned. So he rebrands it to the Trump Organization. Right away, that sounds modern, glamorous, and it's all about him. This was the very first step in making his own name his single most valuable asset.
Okay, so early in his career, he and his dad get hit with this major discrimination lawsuit from the Department of Justice. Now, most people might settle, but not them. Their lawyer was this notoriously aggressive guy, Roy Cohn. And Cohn taught Donald a playbook that you'll see he would use for the rest of his life. The rules were simple. 1, deny everything. 2, attack your accuser twice as hard. And 3, never ever admit you were wrong. I mean, his ambition was just enormous. He looked at the biggest chunk of undeveloped land in Manhattan, the West Side rail yards, and he didn't just see land, he saw a city within a city. But he got blocked. Community activists shut it down, and this was his first major public defeat. It was a really bitter pill to swallow, and he basically vowed that one day he would get that property back. But, you know, that defeat didn't last long. His very next project, Trump Tower, became his monument. It was this shining, opulent symbol of all that 1980s excess. It cemented his name, I mean literally, on the New York skyline. He had officially arrived. And get this, even back then, in 1987, at the absolute peak of his real estate fame, his ambition was already looking beyond just buildings. He floats this idea in his book, The Art of the Deal, Maybe I'd Run for President. It wasn't just a joke. Think of it like a trial balloon floated out there to the public. The seed had been planted. But just as he hit that peak, the dream of the 80s turned into a total 90s nightmare. The boom was over, and it was followed by an absolutely devastating crash. Just look at that number, negative $900 million. At one point, he wasn't just broke, he was almost $1 billion in the hole. He was just drowning in debt from the casinos and airline. And then a recession hit all his businesses that depended on consumer spending. It was a perfect storm, and the fallout was so public and so humiliating. His prized yacht and his airline, gone. Had to sell them. The casinos went into bankruptcy. And on top of all that, his really messy divorce from Ivana was splashed all over the front page of every tabloid. You can bet his critics were celebrating. It really looked like this was the end of the line for him. But then, this happened. In just 5 years, he somehow clawed his way back, turning that massive debt into a positive net worth of $700 million. The question is, how on earth did he do it?
Well, for one thing, he finally let go of that project he'd been chasing for decades. He sold the rights to the West Side rail yards to save himself from personal bankruptcy. But here's the key.
he didn't just recover. He immediately started marketing the recovery. He wrote a whole book about it, The Art of the Comeback. And it wasn't just a business memoir. No, it was the birth of this powerful new story, Trump the Survivor, the fighter who never, ever quits.
And that comeback story, it set the stage perfectly for his next, and maybe his most important transformation. See, he wasn't just going to be a developer anymore. He was about to become a household name.
The Apprentice was a total phenomenon. All of a sudden, he wasn't just some rich developer from New York anymore. He was the ultimate boss, the living embodiment of success. And he was speaking directly to over 20 million people every single week. That show completely, totally redefined his public image.
And just look at this. You can see how his business model just fundamentally shifted. I mean, sure, real estate was still a big part of it, but this massive new revenue stream just pops up. We're talking nearly $500 million coming directly from The Apprentice and from licensing his name on, well, everything, from suits to steaks. His main business wasn't really building things anymore. It was selling the idea of Trump. So now, with this huge national brand, he turns his attention back to that little idea he floated in The Art of the Deal. He was finally ready to take all those lessons, from real estate, from branding, from reality TV, and apply them to his final, biggest project yet, politics.
He spotted an audience that felt totally ignored, the Tea Party movement, and he knew exactly how to get their attention. Controversies like the whole birther thing, they weren't just random attacks, it was a media strategy. It guaranteed him free publicity, and it kept his name at the very top of every single news cycle.
His 2016 campaign was just a whirlwind. It was a series of moments that honestly would have destroyed any other political career. You remember it, the escalator speech, the call for a ban on Muslims entering the US, the Access Hollywood tape. He broke every single rule in the book of conventional politics. And the crazy part? With every rule he broke, his connection with his base just seemed to get stronger.
And that infamous quote, it wasn't just a boast. It was basically a mission statement. See, Trump understood something that his opponents just couldn't grasp. His supporters weren't voting for a normal politician. Their loyalty wasn't to a party platform. It was to him, to the brand, to the fighter, to the TV star. The normal rules of political gravity, they just didn't apply to him anymore.
So, when you boil it all down, how did Donald become Trump? Well, you take that killer instinct from his father, you add the deny and attack playbook from his lawyer, Roy Cohn, you forge that personality in the fire of near total financial ruin, and then you broadcast the myth of the comeback artist into 20 million living rooms week after week. It's like every single piece of his past was just a rehearsal for the final performance. So we'll just end with his own words, a surprisingly rare moment of self-reflection that might just say more than any analysis ever could.